Forgive them for what they knew not when they worshipped other than their own family and blood link. So we give reverence to the 4 winds, the 4 supreme grand hierophants, masters, Pa-Neter Khnum, called Knumis, Pa-Neter Anubu, called Anubis, Pa-Neter Khonsu, called Khenshu, and Pa-Neter Tehuti, Thoth. Khonsu, I call you to transfer by Hanu a portion of your healing protecting soul to my Shawapti, of you that I may keep it with me in my own home as a protection and healing. As I stand before you I fall on my knees and humble myself to you most holy supreme being Khonsu. Khonsu, son of Amun and Mut, was the 3rd member of the triad of New Amun Thebes. The Greeks called Khonsu Hercules, son of Zeus and Alcmene, slayer of the giants, destroyer of evil monsters, the righter of wrong. Khonsu is most often seen as a young man wrapped as a mummy with the 1 braid of hair on the right side of his bald head. This is why the Nuwapians wear 1 braid. Khonsu's symbol was the upright crescent moon over his head, carrying in his hand, which sticks out from his bindings, the Waz crook, staff, and the Ku flail, rod of Ptah, a symbol of overcoming death, resurrection and rulership, from which the 23rd Psalm got it, attributed to David, but was in fact from Akhenaten. Psalm 23 1-6, a Psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, he leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul, he leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies, thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As the moon comes and goes, so also is the meaning of his name as a Moon-Neter supreme being. The moon comes again each new month, so also your health can be renewed with a 30-day fast or cleansing. The Muslims got their Ramadan, which means hot month, talking about the effect of the sun's heat. So it's sun worship and moon worship. They got Ramadan from Khonsu, and it's waiting for the new moon to break their Sawam fasting, all from the Egyptians. The points are broken up into 3 sets of 10 days, to purify the body as the woman's body cleans itself each month with her menstruation, which works with the movement of the moon. Khonsu was the aid of Tehuti Thoth, as his helper and recorder of the health and state of being as to who lives or dies. He is the one who writes the names on the leaves of the secret tree of life and death. He also helps Tehuti in recording all passing time. The keeper of change, a seraphim, meaning those of fire, the master healer of the sick and protector against all evil spirits, ghost, 6 ether spirit forces of evil. The one who chased away evil in all forms. The originator of exorcists, for evil spirits are the source of all illness. So all physicians have to be wise in the black magic of casting away evil white magic spirit forces, those lost spirits who can't escape this realm, their unholy ghost. Their God or Lord who can do evil, Exodus 32:14. So they plagued the weak, sick, young and old. The sick were taken to his temple by family and friends. Khonsu cured all their illnesses. Because to us Egyptians, all illnesses were caused by the demons, 1, virus, 2, microbes, 3, germs, 4, bacteria, as 1, jinn, 2, demons, 3, evil spirits, 4, devils. Getting into the human body by way of its openings. The nostrils, mouth, eyes, ears, genitals, or open cuts or sores, and from your waist tracts. He also had his power transferred into the Shawapti Hedgewearer the Great One, smaller statue, that he imparted his Hanu or movement power into, so that he would be there to ward off evil attacking anywhere. His image is required to achieve a cure, also his symbol was the baboon, who sat at the judgment hall of Asaru Osiris, and as a man with the head of the hawk, just as the Neter supreme being Sakar of Het Ka Ptah Memphis, the spirit guard of tombs, one of the triad 1, Ptah, 2, Sakar, the hawk, a master of split-second timing, its eyes the color of the sun at sunrise, and 3, Asaru. He was also called Nons and the Navigator. A shrine temple was built for him at Ombos, the Golden Nub or Nubti, or Nuwapu, a land inhabited by Nupuns from pre-dynastic times, also dedicated to the Neter supreme being Suchuk Set. You can find his story of power healing on the Bentresh Stela, which relates the story of Ramesses II at New Amun Thebes. When you call on him you use Khonsu Neferhotep of Weret Karnak, the exorciser and Neter supreme being of love. He can mend your love life or help you with it. Help to heal a marriage just for the asking, and also helps with birth and fertility and with the secret schools of Re, the ancient Egyptian order, the young order of Horus, the Amun and Amunet. He was also known as Nonshur, Kenshu or Kenshu. In all ceremonies there was food and drink offerings to Aa-Nun, his consort Mut, and their son Khonsu. So is Ren, name is said before all meals, that the food be healthy and nourishing as well as safe. He also put salt on the table as a medicine. A prayer is said as you stand before him in the midst of the Holy of Holies shrine temple, the Black Pyramid, and also before you eat. The half-wise, those of orders without all the degrees, recognizing the comparative unreality of the universe, imagine that they may defy its laws and call it God's place. Such are vain and presumptuous fools, and they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. The truly wise, knowing the nature of the universe, use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. This is the paradox of the universe, resulting from the doctrine of polarity which manifests when the all begins to create. Hearken to it, for it points the difference between half wisdom and wisdom. While to the infinite all, the universe, its laws, its powers, its life, its phenomena, are as things witnessed in the state of meditation or dream of things only that exist or you've seen before. Yet to all that is finite, the universe must be treated as real, and life, and action, and thought, must be based thereupon. Accordingly, although with an ever-overstanding of the higher truth, each according to its own plane and laws. If the all were to imagine that the universe were indeed reality, then woe to the universe, for there would be then no escape from lower to higher. Divine word, then would the universe become a fixity and progress would become impossible. And if mortals, owing to half wisdom, religious acts and lives and thinks of the universe as merely a dream akin to his own finite dreams, then indeed does it so become for him. If he sees God as a ghost, then to him God is only a ghost. A spook, not of the real world, and like a sleepwalker he stumbles ever around and around in a circle, making no progress, and being forced into an awakening at last by his falling bruised and bleeding over the natural laws which he ignored. Keep your mind ever on the star, but let your eyes watch over your footsteps, lest you fall into the mire by reason of your upward gaze at nothing substantial. Remember the divine paradox that while the universe is not, still it is. Remember ever the two poles of truth, the absolute and the relative. Beware of half-truths, and worse than half-truths is no truth at all. Light is good and darkness is evil. Light is truth and right. All of this is untruth. Light is bad, light is untruth, white is weak and wicked. What Egyptians know as the law of paradox is an aspect of the doctrine of polarity. The Egyptian writings are filled with references to the appearance of the paradox and the consideration of the problems of life and being. The teachers are constantly warning their students against the error of omitting the other side of any question. And their warnings are particularly directed to the problems of the absolute and the relative, which perplex all students, and which cause so many to think and act contrary to what is generally known as common sense. And we caution all students to be sure to grasp the divine paradox of the absolute and relative, lest they become entangled in the mire of the half-truth and the non-truths. With this in view, this particular degree has been written. Be attentive. The first thought that comes to the thinking mortal after they realize the truth that the universe is a mental creation of all, including the all, as you would of God and his angelic beings, is that the universe and all that it contains is a mere illusion, an unreality, against which idea their instincts revolt. You know it's real because you are part of it and you are real. But this, like all other great truths, must be considered both from the absolute and the relative points of view. From the absolute viewpoint, of course, the universe is in the nature of an illusion, as spirit can be thought to be unreal, but in fact is more real than matter, a dream, a phantasmagoria, as compared to the all in itself. We recognize this even in our ordinary view, for we speak of the world as a fleeting show that comes and goes, is born and dies, for the element of impermanence and change, finiteness and insubstantiality, must ever be connected with the idea of a created universe when it is contrasted with the idea of the all, no matter what may be our beliefs concerning the nature of both. Philosopher, metaphysician, scientist and theologian all agree upon this idea, and the thought is found in all forms of philosophical thought and religious conceptions, as well as in the theories of the respective schools of metaphysics and theology. Let's all tell the truth, we exist, and so existence is real and relative and not an illusion, but rather alludes to the fact of all existence. So, the Egyptian teachings do not preach the insubstantiality of the universe in any stronger terms than those more familiar to you, although their presentation of the subject may seem somewhat more startling. Anything that has a beginning and an ending must be, in a sense, unreal and untrue, because there is no real beginning or ending in all. Think on that a moment, and the universe come under that rule, in all schools of thought. From the absolute point of view, there is nothing real except all, no matter what terms we may use in thinking of, or discussing the subject. Whether the universe be created of matter, or whether it be a mental creation in the mind of the all, it is unsubstantial, non-enduring, a thing of time, space and change. We want you to realize this fact thoroughly, before you pass judgment on the Egyptian conception of the mental nature of the universe. Think over any and all of the other conceptions, and see whether this be not true of them. Is not their God eternal? Is not their Allah ever living? But the absolute point of view shows merely one side of the picture, the other side is the relative one. Absolute truth has been defined as things as the mind of God knows them, while relative truth is things as the highest reason of mortals overstands them. In fact, is not both of them from and of God? And the very concept of God and all other things. And so, while the all, the universe must be unreal and illusionary, a mere dream or result of meditation, nevertheless, to the finite minds forming a part of that universe, and viewing it through mortal faculties, the universe is very real indeed, and must be so considered. In recognizing the absolute view, we must not make the mistake of ignoring or denying the facts and phenomena of the universe as they present themselves to our mortal faculties. We are not all, remember, but in the all. If God did not write his own holy Bible, who would know he existed and how? To take familiar illustrations, we all recognize the fact that matter exists to our senses. We will fare badly if we do not. And yet, even our finite minds overstand the scientific dictum that there is no such thing as matter from a scientific point of view. That which we call matter is held to be merely an aggregation of atoms, which atoms themselves are merely a grouping of units of force, called electrons or ions, vibrating and in constant circular motion. We kick a stone and we feel the impact. It seems to be real, notwithstanding that we know it to be merely what we have stated above. But remember that our foot, which feels the impact by means of our brains, is likewise matter, so constituted of electrons, and for that matter so are our brains. And, at the best, if it were not by reason of our mind, we would not know the foot or stone at all. And our personal mind is linked to a mental reservoir of thought, thinking, ideas, from the all in all. Then again, the ideal of the artist or sculptor, which he is endeavoring to reproduce in stone or on canvas, seems very real to him. So do the characters in the mind of the author, or dramatist, which he seeks to express so that others may recognize them. This is your holy books and their authors by whichever name Yahweh, his book Torah, Allah, his book Quran. And if this be true in the case of our finite minds, what must be the degree of reality in the mental images created in the mind of the infinite? Oh, friends, to mortals this universe of mentality is very real indeed. It is the only one we can ever know, though we rise from plane to plane, higher and higher in it. To know it otherwise, by actual experience, we must be God itself, and we are, for we know it. It is true that the higher we rise in the scale, the nearer to the mind of God we reach and become as you become all experiences. The more apparent becomes the illusory nature of finite things, but not until the all finally withdraws us into itself does the vision actually vanish and we become all. So, we need not dwell upon the feature of illusion. Rather let us recognize the real nature of the universe, seek to overstand its mental laws, and endeavor to use them to the best effect in our upward progress through life, as we travel from plane to plane of being. The laws of the universe are nonetheless iron laws because of the mental nature. All, except all, are bound by them. Even the all is bound by them. What is in the infinite mind of the all is real in a degree second only to that reality itself which is vested in the nature of all. So, do not feel insecure or afraid. We are all held firmly in the infinite mind of all, and there is naught to hurt us or for us to fear. There is no power outside of all to affect us. So we may rest calm and secure. There is a world of comfort and security in this realization when once attained. Then calm and peaceful do we sleep, rocked in the cradle of the deep, resting safely on the bosom of the ocean of infinite mind, which is the all. In all, indeed, do we live and move and have our being. Matter is nonetheless matter to us, while we dwell on the plane of matter, although we know it to be merely an aggregation of electrons, or particles of force, vibrating rapidly and gyrating around each other in the formations of atoms, the atoms in turn vibrating and gyrating, forming molecules, which later in turn form larger masses of matter. Nor does matter become less matter, when we follow the inquiry still further, and learn from the Egyptian teachings, that the force of which the electrons are but units is merely a manifestation of the mind of all, and like all else in the universe is purely mental in its nature. While on the plane of matter, we must recognize its phenomena. We may control matter as all masters of higher or lesser degree do, but we do so by applying the higher forces. We commit a folly when we attempt to deny the existence of matter in the relative aspect. We may deny its mastery over us, and rightly so, but we should not attempt to ignore it in its relative aspect, at least so long as we dwell upon its plane. Nor do the laws of nature become less constant or effective, when we know them, likewise, to be merely mental creations. They are in full effect on the various planes. We overcome the lower laws, by applying still higher ones, and in this way only. But we cannot escape law or rise above it entirely. Nothing but all can escape law, and that's because the all is the law in all itself, from which all laws emerge. The most advanced masters may acquire the powers usually attributed to the Netarot supreme beings of mortals, and there are countless ranks of being, in the great hierarchy of life, whose being and power transcends even that of the highest masters among mortals to a degree unthinkable by mortals, but even the highest master, and the highest being, must bow to the law, and be as nothing in the eye of the all which is in all. So that if even these highest beings, whose powers exceed even those attributed by mortals to their gods, if even these are bound by and are subservient to law, then imagine the presumption of mortal man, of our race and grade, when he dares to consider the laws of nature as unreal, visionary and illusory, because he happens to be able to grasp the truth that the laws are mental in nature, and simply mental creations of all. Those laws which the all intends to be governing laws are not to be defied or argued away. So long as the universe endures, will they endure, for the universe exists by virtue of these laws which form its framework and which holds it together. The Egyptian doctrine of mentalism, while explaining the true nature of the universe upon the doctrine that all is mental, does not change the scientific conceptions of the universe, life, or evolution. In fact, science merely corroborates the Egyptian teachings. The latter merely teaches that the nature of the universe is mental, while modern science has taught that it is material, or of late that it is energy at the last analysis. The Egyptian teachings have no fault to find with the Egyptians' basic doctrine, which postulates the existence of an infinite and eternal energy, from which all things proceed. In fact, the Egyptians recognized this thousands of years ago, the highest outside statement of the workings of the natural laws that have ever been promulgated. The line of the Egyptian teachings, always with the addition of their own doctrine that is the energy of the mind of all. With the Ankh, master key of the Egyptian doctrine, the student of the ancient Egyptian order will be able to unlock many doors of the inner doctrine conceptions of the great master teacher Autumn Re, whose work shows the results of the preparation of his previous incarnations. His teachings regarding evolution and rhythm are in perfect agreement with the Tehuti teachings regarding the doctrine of rhythm. So, the student of Tehuti need not lay aside any of his cherished scientific views regarding the universe. All he is asked to do is grasp the underlying doctrine of all is mind, the universe is mental, held in the mind of all. He will find that the other 8 of the 9 doctrines will fit into his scientific knowledge, and will serve to bring out obscure points and to throw facts in blind corners. This is not to be wondered at, when we realize the influence of the Egyptian thought on the early philosophers of Greece, upon whose foundations of thought the theories of modern science largely rest. The acceptance of the first Egyptian doctrine, mentalism, is the only great point of difference between modern science and Egyptian students, and science is gradually moving toward the Egyptian position in its groping in and putting out the blind light of confusion and untruth, for a way out of the labyrinth of light into which it has wandered in its search for reality to be blinded by religious beliefs. The purpose of this degree is to impress upon the minds of our students the fact that, to all intents and purposes, the universe and its laws, and its phenomena, are just as real, so far as mortals are concerned, as they would be under the hypotheses of materialism or energism. Under any hypothesis, the universe in its outer aspect is changing, ever-flowing, and transitory, and therefore devoid of substantiality and reality. But note the other pole of the truth: under any of the same hypotheses, we are compelled to act and live as if the fleeting things were real and substantial. With this difference, always, between the various hypotheses, that under the old views mental power was ignored as a natural force of evil. If we speak to our ancestors, we are doing voodoo. If they call on the dead man, as saints, this is communication, while under mentalism it becomes the greatest natural force to link with your own blood family, as gods of your seed. And this one difference revolutionizes life, to those who understand the doctrine and its resulting laws and practice. So, finally, students all, grasp the advantage of mentalism, and learn to know, use and apply the laws resulting therefrom. Call on your ancestors. But do not yield to the temptation which, as the sacred wisdom states, overcomes the half-wise and non-wise, and which causes them to be hypnotized by the apparent unreality of things, under the spell of ignorance, the consequence being that they wander about like dream people dwelling in a world of dreams, ignoring the practical work and life of mortals, the end being that they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements, by reason of their folly. Rather follow the example of the wise, which the same authority states, use law against laws, the higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Following the authority, let us avoid the half-wisdom and the non-wisdom of belief and faith, which is folly, which ignores the truth and facts of Nuwapu that mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using the higher forces 9 ether, against the lower 6 ether, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Remember always, student, that transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. The above quotations are from Tehuti, and are worthy of being committed to memory by the student. We do not live in a world of dreams, but in a universe, which, while relative, is real so far as our lives and actions are concerned. Our business in the universe is not to deny its existence, but to live, using the laws to rise from lower to higher, living on, doing the best that we can under the circumstances arising each day as the sun, autumn ray, and living, through the day as Yaa-Nun ray, so far as is possible, to our highest ideas and ideals, and going to rest as a moon ray. The highest authorities, and our own intuitions, teach us that we will make no mistake in living up to the best that is in us, so far as is possible, and realizing the universal tendency in the same direction in spite of apparent evidences to the contrary. We are all on the path, and the road leads upward ever, with frequent resting places. Study the message of the sacred wisdom and follow the example of the wise Tehuti, avoiding the mistake of the half-wise and unwise, who perish by reason of their folly and religion.